It's always special when someone who's from the country speaks about the country.
New Zealand is about the same size as the UK. We've got 25 million sheep. So 5 million people and 25 million sheep. When you go on holiday, and especially if you're going to come down to on a honeymoon, you want to look out the window and see blue sky, lakes and mountains. Now, conversely, when I come on holiday, I want to come to Mumbai because I want to look at bars and restaurants and buildings and shops and things.
Of course, we know that it's a country with amazing natural beauty, stunning natural beauty, beautiful landscapes, lakes, mountains, glaciers, beautiful roads that give us these wonderful road trips that we can do, and so much more. In April and May, when it's so hot out here, I think New Zealand is the perfect place to be with the autumn season.
We are known for, they call us the adventure capital of the world for a reason.
There was a snowstorm and the flight didn't take off, and I was driving towards Christchurch, and suddenly I realized that it's me, the road, and no one else. Hello and welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. I'm Sunila here, and today we really have a very special guest who's flown down more than 16 to 20 hours to be here with us. So I'm so happy because he's a good old friend of mine as well, and we've often worked together. I have great pleasure in welcoming Mark Rose all the way from New Zealand. Mark, welcome to Veena World and welcome to India and welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life.
Look, I'm so pleased and lucky to be here. As you said, we've been old friends for a long, long time. I first came here 16 years ago to promote the Rees Hotel, and you guys have supported me ever since, and I've been very, very, very grateful for that.
It's a very special hotel. We love the hotel, Mark. So, of course, we'll talk about it. But I'm so happy to have you here because it's always special when someone who's from the country speaks about the country. And I'd love to talk all things Kiwi with you today, everything
Absolutely.
about New Zealand. You've had a really good relationship with India and you've been coming here for 16 years. I know that you've even gone sari shopping for your wife.
Yeah, I have.
And we've attended a wedding where everyone was dressed so beautifully in saris, everyone from New Zealand,
Except me.
you.
Well, it just didn't quite feel right for me. I didn't. It's not something that I assumed that I would ever wear again. So, my jacket and my pair of Levi's was a point of difference.
Yes, but I think we need to get you that sherwani so you can keep
Right.
coming back to
Right.
India again and again and again and attend different events.
Absolutely.
But Mark, I love it that you're here. So why don't you introduce New Zealand to us? Of course, we know that it's a country with amazing natural beauty, stunning natural beauty, beautiful landscapes, lakes, mountains, glaciers, beautiful roads that give us these wonderful road trips that we can do, and so much more. But why don't you introduce what New Zealand means to you?
Sure. Look, why don't we just start with a quick bit of geography? So New Zealand is about the same size as the UK. The UK has got 65 million people in it. New Zealand's got 5 million.
Wow.
So you'd imagine you guys come to New Zealand after living in a big city like Mumbai or a country like a populous country like India, that there's just nobody there. Now, if you come in from India, you'll find that we've got 25 million sheep. So 5 million people and 25 million sheep. So it's, it really is quite a contrast. And for that reason, I think it's an amazing place for you guys to come. Now, you come into New Zealand, generally you would come into Auckland as the main gateway airport. You could come via Malaysia or via Singapore, via Hong Kong, directly into Auckland. Work your way down to Rotorua, we celebrate our Maori heritage. Down to Wellington, our capital city, at the base of the North Island, then into the South Island, where there's just over 1 million people, into Christchurch, which is the main city of the South Island. And then I live in the very far south, in a place called Queenstown, in the mountains and the fjords. Incredibly beautiful, nobody around. Queenstown is a place that our Indian clients absolutely love. the advent of snow. We start getting snow sort of mid-June, and that's a huge attraction. You imagine that sort of May, June, we're running at 15 to 16 degrees. When you guys are quite often in the 40-degree sort of realm, it's a great place to be able to come and do something a little different.
Wow, you touched upon so many things there, Mark, but I think I'll take the weather first.
Right.
Because when it's summer here, it's the start of your winter. So, as we speak, we are now in July, and by the time the podcast goes out, maybe you will be in the peak of your winter in August or so. So, when in April and May, when it's so hot out here, I think New Zealand is the perfect place to be with the autumn season.
Absolutely.
And Arrowtown looks so beautiful. I'm sure there are many other places in New Zealand that look amazingly stunning in autumn. But for me, my memory of Arrowtown is the place where it looks so stunning. The rows of trees, all in the golden and brown colors. It's
Absolutely.
just amazing. You also mentioned the itinerary for New Zealand really quickly. And going through the north to the South Island, of course, there's North Island, South Island, and the Little Stewart Island as well. But very often there's a question that should I do North Island? Should I do South Island? What should I visit? Should I attempt to visit both the islands together? What's the right way to do this?
Okay, so the North Island, which has most of our population and the bigger cities, is very rolling like the UK. The South Island has got a big mountain range down at the spine, and it's a lot more like Scotland. So there's a lot more there's snow and there's rugged features. For an Indian to come to New Zealand and South Drive, look, I think you need at least 15 days.
Yes.
Okay, so if you can get sort of maybe 5 or 6 in the North Island, come on through to the South Island, and it's so different to anything you've got in India. You'll want to spend some time, and especially self-drive. You guys drive on the same side of the road as us. Your English has always been so good. You get, it's a very easy destination for Indians to visit. Now, you're talking about April and May. That's really is a big part of our Indian season. I live in Arrowtown, and I get up in the morning and I look at that beautiful hill that you're talking about, and the golds and the reds and the yellows are just incredible. There's not a lot of snow in India. So coming down to us, we're finding a lot of our Indian clients want to go up and play in the snow for a day. And it's something that's so accessible. It's really interesting. I speak to our honeymooners who come out of India and ask them why they all want to skydive in New Zealand. And their answer always is, would you skydive in India? There's so many amazing activities that are so different to what you have on offer. But the lack of people makes them all really accessible.
And I absolutely agree because I felt the lack of people. And in a way, it was very calming, very peaceful. And I was driving. In fact, I got snowed in Queenstown. And there was a snowstorm and the flight didn't take off. And I was driving towards Christchurch. And suddenly I realized that, it's me, the road, and no one else. And maybe, like you mentioned, a few sheep here and there, sheep crossings. So beware of sheep crossings, guys, when you're driving in New Zealand. But, you mentioned driving. And the one thing I've noticed is the only problem that Indians have when they drive in New Zealand is to control speed.
Absolutely.
Because the roads are empty and you just go. So it's before you realize you're like maybe speeding, you're going over the speed limits because there's just no one on the road. So be careful when you're driving. Make sure you have your license and you'll be all set to drive in New Zealand.
It's a very easy experience to drive in New Zealand. And as you say, the one issue is speed. And to any guest that comes in the hotel, we speak to them about, making sure you keep an eye on the speedometer because there are police around and, it's unbelievable. You live in a place like Mumbai, there's a car a metre in front of you. In New Zealand, you don't see a car for 15 minutes. Quite incredible.
That sounds, it's funny, Mark, when you talk of traffic, like when I'm going to office and you say, oh, I hate traffic today. Your traffic and our traffic is really very different. You probably have like 3 cars in front of you and you start saying, oh my God, there's so much traffic on the roads, right? But you did mention about North and South Island and I just want to go back there. So the North Island is more about geothermal activity.
Absolutely.
And mud volcanoes and Rotorua with its little base of adventure as well.
Yep.
And then you can head up all the way to the Bay of Islands and a little more warmer in that sense compared to
definitely.
the South Island.
Definitely.
And the South Island is more about glaciers and snow and picturesque landscapes and wherever you see you see beauty all around you, right?
Absolutely. But once again, that beauty is kept that way because we have no people. Everything about New Zealand comes down to the fact that we've got 5 million people in, such a big space. You come down there and you just decompress. You're working in India and, you work long days, you work 6 days a week. And when you go on holiday, you just want to go somewhere where you can take a deep breath and take in your surroundings. Now, we've, over the years, our food in New Zealand, our Indian food has got better and better. So you can come down there and eat great food, as you would expect to get in Mumbai. And we're a really welcoming bunch of people. We're so similar to you guys. We are interested, we are interesting, and we want to share our stories. And I think that's really important, that you come to a country and you get a sense of the country because of the time you spend with the people. And New Zealand has the time.
Right. And you're absolutely right. I think I see a lot of similarities between Indians and, people in New Zealand as well. And meeting people when you're traveling is one of the best things to do. Like, I remember a few years back, we even arranged for a lot of farm visits and farm stays. So, there are different kinds of accommodations that you can look forward to in New Zealand. And of course, there are hotels, there are motels, there are luxury lodges, but there is also something called a farm stay where you can actually go and live with a farmer and he takes you around. So, let's come to the luxury part of it, because I think that is a real growing segment from India.
Certainly
And
is.
the peak time for New Zealand, which used to be the season used to be from, say, October on to March, which is your summer spring
Yeah.
season,
Sort of, yeah.
right? And that kind of fits in perfectly with the wedding season in India. So you see a lot of the honeymooners traveling, and I think for honeymoon and for romantic like holidays or for couples only holidays as well as family. But let's talk of the honeymoon first. New Zealand just fits in perfectly. And Mark, you are in Queenstown, so that kind of goes really well and with luxury. So what do you think about luxury and honeymoon in New Zealand? What would you suggest for people to do?
Look, there can be nothing better than getting married, and especially after an Indian wedding with your 700 best friends, to be able to come on down to New Zealand and spend some time with the person you've married. Now, you can, we have such access to the glaciers, so being able to take a helicopter ride up into a glacier, you go to a lake and there's nobody there. We can set you up with a picnic to go off into the wilderness. We have nothing in the wilderness that can kill you. So we have no snakes, we have no spiders, we have no lions, we have no tigers, we have nothing. New Zealand is a very, very safe country from the animal perspective as well. So, but it really is about the people. We have so much in common that we are interested in you, and we want to share our stories with you. And I think that's something that you will remember for the rest of your lives. The honeymoon season is very big at my hotel, which is fabulous. In the luxury market, we are well served by our luxury lodges at that very, very high end of the market. They come down to being full service, all inclusive. And then you come down to hotels like mine where you can come in and get bed and breakfast and do more of your own sort of itinerary. But it's interesting, are getting more and more of that high end out of India. It's very accessible. A flight to Mumbai, from Mumbai to Singapore or to Kuala Lumpur, and then come down. You can get down to us in sort of 15 or 16 hours. So it really is an easy place to be. We drive on the same side of the road. There's good value in what we have. Our dollar is not very strong. There's tons of reasons to come on down.
Yeah, and luxury has all kinds of meanings, right?
Absolutely.
And the luxury of space and the luxury of just being alone on your own, I think, is one of the topmost reasons to visit New Zealand, as you've been saying. But let's talk of the luxury accommodation in New Zealand, Mark. And you call something a luxury lodge, and a lodge kind of has different meanings in India, where it meant something that was a budgeted kind of an accommodation. Kind of that is what we are used to saying lodge for that. But a luxury lodge in New Zealand means a place where you can actually enjoy the outdoors much more. Your hotel itself, the Rees, is so beautiful. And I remember one of the guests I had sent to your hotel. In fact, he told me, what is the point if I even have to go till the window to look out and enjoy the view? And I knew exactly where to send him because I knew he had to come to the Rees. So let's talk of the Rees. Its special location.
Yeah.
What makes it really attractive to Indians?
Look, we're right on the lakefront in Queenstown. every room's lake facing. We look out to the remarkable mountains into Lake Whakatipu, and across the different offerings we have. So we have hotel rooms, we have apartments, we have villas, we have penthouses. So that really suitable for the Indian market in that a lot of Indians families travel together and they want to have their own space. But great for that honeymoon market as well. You've a beautiful hotel room that's looking right out, and all you can see is lake and mountains. And I can't stress that enough. You live in a big city like Mumbai, you look out the window and you see buildings and cars and people and things. When you go on holiday, and especially if you're going to come down to on a honeymoon, you want to look out the window and see blue sky, lakes and mountains. Now, conversely, when I come on holiday, I want to come to Mumbai because I want to look at bars and restaurants and buildings and shops and things. So, it's a totally different experience to what you guys have up here, and something I think quite special.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. And when we are coming there, we want to be in nature. You want to spend as much time as you can in nature. And I've seen the Rees, and there is so much glass facade everywhere that you feel like you are always in touch with nature wherever you go. So Mark, when we look at New Zealand, and we spoke of the itinerary before, but South Island kind of becomes the place to go if you want to enjoy the glaciers, the mountains, and even within that, Queenstown enjoys the maximum number of nights in any Indian itinerary.
Absolutely.
And tell us more of what you think can be done in and around Queenstown when they're staying at your hotel. How do you guide people on how to enjoy their time best in Queenstown?
Okay, a couple of things here. You need a minimum of 3 nights in Queenstown to be able to enjoy Queenstown and the surrounding area. Odds are you'll want to go down to Milford Sound on one of those days, so that takes up one of those, gives you 2 other days to be able to do other things. Now, really important, I believe, for people from a market like India to work with their travel agents, because their travel agents are the people who've got the knowledge. By the time they get down to us, we're very happy to work with them, but we understand that a company like yours can furnish itineraries. You've done it. You actually know how we operate. I think that's really important to have those things set up. A lot of those things set up before you leave. Now, we've got glaciers, so you get onto a helicopter and fly to a glacier. We can take you down to Milford Sound. You can fly down or drive down and go onto a fjord where nobody lives. And suddenly you're on this boat and they turn the motor off and there's a sound of silence and you just drift there. And I would suggest to you that there wouldn't be many times in India that you would have the sound of silence. We are an upmarket and very safe destination as well. So there's jet boating, and there's you can shoot things, jump off things. It's a whole range of stuff that is we are known for. They call us the adventure capital of the world for a reason. But I think also the safety aspect of it is really important. You come to us, you're going to go home.
Yeah, that's true, because I remember my first bungee jump was in New Zealand, and I had not thought about it. I just went in. It was the first self-drive tour from India, arranged by Tourism New Zealand at that point, and I was on one of it. And we went in, and then we said, okay, tomorrow we're going bungee jumping, and had given no thought. I remember my daughter was only 11 months at that point, and I remember standing there and telling him, get me back up, just make sure I come back. But it was really simple. He said, just don't think of it. Just look at the mountain, and when I say jump, you jump. And I jumped, and then I couldn't stop. So wherever I go, I've enjoyed the bungee. But are there any favorite adventure activities that you indulge in?
Look, I'm a skier. I'm a wine guy, which is, I don't know, it's not an adventure activity, but it's an activity that's close to my heart. But look, just being able to go outside and climb a mountain. I mean, there's so much you can do in New Zealand that actually doesn't cost anything. So when we go back to our honeymooning, to be able to just go out and walk up into those hills behind Arrowtown, and you'll see nobody. You're very safe and you're allowed to do it. Is an incredible experience. And I can't, I keep coming back to the solitude thing. You guys are with people all of the time. To come to New Zealand and have that time to yourselves is pretty special.
True. So, Mark, you mentioned wine, and you're the wine guy, and you're the wine connoisseur. I know that the Rees has a really good wine collection as well. When we were speaking, you mentioned about it. Wine is also something that New Zealand is really popular for, and it makes for one of the best gifts to bring back from the country.
Absolutely.
And one of the best things to enjoy when you're there, like a wine tasting, a meal, or wine pairing meals, and all of that. But could you tell our listeners which is the best wine that you must try when you're in New Zealand? What's a good wine gift to bring back?
Right.
and more about wine at the Rees.
Okay, big questions. How about we'll talk about New Zealand in general.
Yeah.
Bringing wine back from New Zealand. We make great Chardonnay and great Bordeaux blends in the Hawke's Bay up in the North Island on the east coast. We also, New Zealand is very well known for our Sauvignon Blanc. It's about 80% of our exports. Sauvignon Blanc comes from Marlborough at the top of the South Island. And then down where I live in Queenstown is Central Otago, where Pinot Noir is about 70% of our growth. And then we have some Pinot Gris and some Riesling. So being able to bring those sorts of wines back is easy to do. They're all accessible. If you want to do wine tours and tastings, there are a lot of options with that as well. We do a couple at the hotel, one in a helicopter. We'll take you out around 3 or 4 vineyards in a helicopter. Generally, I'll host it and take you in to meet the winemakers and you're in the back door and see actually how it's done. And then we get to drink some pretty incredible wines on offer. At the hotel Sunila, I've got about $1.7 million worth of wine in a wine cellar.
More than the people in New Zealand, more than the sheep in New Zealand.
You got it. So
amazing.
I've managed to collect that over 16 years. We have the great wines of New Zealand, Australia, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, North and South America. Most expensive bottle we have in the wine list is a bottle of Domaine Romney Conti from Burgundy at $65,000. I don't know what that is in rupees, but it's a lot of rupees. We've sold a couple of those. So wherever you go in New Zealand, there's great opportunities to taste interesting food matched with really great wine. Being able to bring something home that really is a part of New Zealand that you can save, especially like a honeymooner comes down, our wines will last 15 to 20 years. So you start thinking about 10-year anniversaries or 20-year anniversaries. To have something special from your honeymoon is pretty incredible.
That sounds amazing. I think an entire New Zealand holiday is much cheaper than the bottle of wine that you have.
You got it.
So, I think that if you want to really experience luxury, then Queenstown is a great place to do that. And of course, the rest of New Zealand as well. And add to that a special few moments like wine pairings, wine tastings, and a helicopter tour with wine sounds just amazing. I mean, I know there are many couples who do helicopter tours in New Zealand. You fly over the glaciers, you can do a glacier landing, you can fly over the peak and have a little picnic at the peak.
Absolutely.
But flying over and doing wine tasting, that is, I think, the best thing that you could think of when you're thinking of a luxury holiday and a honeymoon in New Zealand. Mark, you mentioned food, and you've been coming to India for long, so you know what is Indian food, what is good Indian food. So, Mark, what's your favorite Indian food, and what do you think about the food in India and the food in New Zealand? Would a vegetarian get good Indian food out there?
Look, I got to be honest. Back when I opened the hotel in 2008, Indian food in New Zealand was a bit like Indian food in the UK. It was sort of made for the white man's palate, and buttered chicken everywhere and things like that. And man, it's changed. The food in New Zealand now, we have such a large expat Indian community that the food has become incredibly like it is when I come to India. Vegetarian is not a problem anywhere at all. Even in my hotel, we've got Indian chefs. And we've always got on offer vegetarian dishes for people. We can do Jain, we can do halal. So New Zealand has definitely come of age in that regard. You and I have got an old friend in Queenstown, Kiran, and his wife makes the best biryani. And so I get to go and eat biryani sort of once or twice a year, and something that I look forward to. And that's what I look forward to when I come to India. You guys know how to use spice in such a way that it doesn't overpower the thing that you're eating. In 2008, 2009 in New Zealand, it used to be curry up the yazoo. You wouldn't know what you're eating at all. So, to answer your question, your guys have no issue now eating in New Zealand. There is a lot on offer. But I do suggest that do try some of the food that we eat as well. I mean, part of a culture is the food, and you get to know people and you get to know a country by what's on offer in food.
And that's actually my next question to you, Mark. That, of course, there's Indian food, but there's a lot of us who want to come in and try everything that's local.
Yep.
So tell me two things. One, what should a person, who loves meat, who loves fish, and all of that, what should that person eat? And then what should a vegetarian try to try something really local in New Zealand?
So obviously, we're known for lamb. We've got 25 million sheep. You know, when I grew up, we had 80 million sheep, so we've eaten a few along the way. So look, we're known for our lamb, and you definitely should. That lamb or mutton is very much in the Indian diet anyway.
Yeah.
Our lamb is grass fed, so it has a different flavour. Can be finished on fresh thyme, so it really is something you need to try. Being an ocean locked country, seafood is incredible. It's a cold water seafood. So they have got great, flavours in the fish and things. So you really do need to give that a go. In the vegetarian department, you'll get high quality vegetarian food in a style that you're used to everywhere now. It really has changed. Even probably since you've been.
Okay.
In the old days, if you're a vegetarian, you got offered some pasta and a bit of cream sauce.
No,
But
I
that's it.
remember in the old times, Mark, it was only salad. And I had a friend of mine who would come in and said, I feel like a cow every time I go down there because it's only like salad. How can a main course be a salad? So,
Yeah.
so it's good to know that things have changed.
It's changed dramatically in that regard. And so it should. I mean, the one thing that New Zealand has done incredibly well is we've opened our arms to the rest of the world, and we're looking at you guys who are coming in and thinking what it is that you need on your holiday, and especially at the luxury end of the market. We facilitate anything that people need. We have a country that is abundant in natural produce, and we can do that.
Right. Great. Mark, as we come to the end of the episode, I know you are living in Queenstown, but you are from Auckland. But other than these two destinations, I would like you to name one other place in New Zealand where you think most Indians aren't really going to that much, but they would love it if they really went in and saw that. So, anything that you think that this needs to be explored a little more?
So, can I answer two places? Here we go. So, I think it's really important for everybody who visits New Zealand, and especially from the Indian market, to go to Rotorua. Rotorua is where we celebrate our Māori heritage. We talk about the history of our country, and I think that's really important that it puts context around the way that we live. I work with a small business in Rotorua called Hell's Gate, where you go and it's in a geothermal area, and you put the fresh mud on your face or on your body, and as it dries and you peel it off, your skin changes dramatically. It's something that's so unique to New Zealand, and I think it's a market that you guys would love. Now, if I go to the north of the South Island, in that sort of Nelson region, being able to go out and kayak, through those the national parks up there, there are vineyards, there are no people, there is fresh seafood on your doorstep. There's isolation, but with service. I mean, it is really quite special. So those, one that's not off the beaten path, and one that's generally right off the beaten path. Go up to Nelson and Marlborough, get out onto the Sounds, and see something a little different.
Right. Hell's Gate I have been to,
Ah.
and Nelson is absolutely on my bucket list.
Right.
I want to be there in Abel Tasman. In all of my visits to New Zealand, this is one part that I've always missed, but I am really adding it to the top of my bucket list, as I'm sure many people who are listening to us will surely do that. This was New Zealand through the eyes of Mark. And thank you, Mark. It was really nice speaking to you and reliving everything that New Zealand is famous for, is popular for, and why we all love this country so much. It's a beautiful country, and starting now is when we kind of go into your spring and summer and, enjoy some amazing weather down there.
Absolutely. And you guys, please come and visit us. We are, welcome. We're very welcoming as a nation. We're interested. We're interesting. You guys fit in with us perfectly.
Thank you so much. So, listeners, this was New Zealand for you. And of course, we'll be back and we'll talk about, different parts of New Zealand in the episodes to come. But if you would like to listen to something specific, then do write to us. My email is sunila@veenaword.com. That's SUNILA @veenaword.com. And Neil's email is neil@veenaword.com. We'll be back again next week with another episode and just talking about something else around the world. But till then, you keep listening, liking, and sharing. Thank you so much and see you soon. Bye-bye.